Hey there guys, here we are. This is week 9 of our class. This is an ethics class. And I was asked to do a subject on either global justice, globalization, or violence and war. And second, I think the wind's kind of strong turn right here. Should be a little better. Less noise in the mic. Anyway, I'm going to discuss all three. So I grew up in the 80s, and I watched the progression from the 80s. You know, we rode around in bicycles, no helmets, we jumped off dirt banks, we played baseball with hard balls, things like that. A lot of fun. And into the 90s, and we finally got our PC, had our own home computer. It went from, you know, an old open source, put it together yourself type kit to something you bought from the store that was a licensed product. And then from there, floppy disk went away and hard drives came in, and then eventually we had CDs, and then eventually DVDs, and software became, you know, not just every 5 years type development. Pretty soon it was coming out almost every 2 years, and then the internet was being a real thing, and texting came into existence. Oh my gosh, that was new. And then, MySpace and so on. It just kept progressing. And I saw the power of data growing and growing and growing, and I saw it being a wonderful thing, and I saw how fast we could make calculations. And as an engineering student, I was awed by the development of the technologies and the 3D modeling software and stuff as it continued to become something just absolutely almost unheard of. However, I think there's something else going on, and I'm gravely concerned about where it's taking us. And I think it's a war for our minds, and I think we're losing. So, as the years have gone on, I've watched wonderful things like YouTube that allowed us to have access to the best and the latest information, the newest data posted by people who were in the know, who were doing things physically, doing stuff, fixing bikes and hacks and making just everything, right? Made things accessible right away. Facebook, which allowed us to connect with our friends we hadn't seen since high school back home, and we were still in someplace else, Southeast Asia or wherever, right? And this was amazing. But what I see now is a shift away from that, and it's been progressive. But things have happened in the last few months that have absolutely terrified me and convinced me that we are at a turning point. And we are at a point of no return. And we are in a fight for humanity itself, for the existence of what we understand as justice, and for the minds of people. What we have seen in the last 10 years is that organizations have taken massive amounts of power away from governments. Governments have gotten slower and slower and more encumbered by the myriad facets of society, and the legal system is woefully under-equipped and behind the terms when it comes to dealing with technology. While companies have raced ahead, and militaries and clandestine segments of governments have rushed ahead and utilized technology, whether it be AI or whether it be data collection or whether it be even bioengineering, faster than we can cope with it on a legal level. And what I see now is a tightening up of that data, and things that used to be free and open source, like the internet itself, like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, things like that, are rapidly becoming something that resembles much more propaganda than it does a free and open conversation between members of society. And when you combine that with a society that is like a sort of a skeptical society, a society that doesn't really believe in much of anything, that looks at everything as being relative, and yet is in a sort of twisted way like a kind of egoist society. So it's like, we don't believe anything, but we know the truth. And when you combine that with our insanely short ability to focus, you know, it used to be, if you could catch somebody in 15 seconds on a page, that was good enough. Then it was 5, and now it's down to 1.5 seconds. If you cannot catch someone with an ad in 1.5 seconds, you've lost them. So my concern is that the globalization of data is rapidly being reduced to just a very, very few handlers. And that those handlers are outside the law. And those handlers literally control the minds and the voices of the people. And if you look at what's happened with certain things, like for instance COVID, anyone who gains popularity but speaks a message different than what seems to be the status quo is removed. The terrifying part about that is not only is it an infringement on free speech, however, it's a silencing. And when you silence the voices of the people, when you silence the lambs, no one hears their cry. And my concern is that what we are seeing is the beginnings of a new era of propaganda and a new era of war on the mind. And I think we're losing.